What's a major learning lesson you've had to go through when underwriting deals? Any mistakes that you had?
Yeah. So look, we ultimately to get a deal, I probably look at 100 deals. And so you're really sifting through gold to get these deals. And eventually you just get this hunger of like, man, I just want a deal to work. Right. So
Mhm.
you start tweaking the numbers here and there of like, all right, well, maybe rent growth will go, 4% instead of 3. Maybe I can get expenses a little bit cheaper here. And you can pencil whip a deal in order to have it make sense. But then, I'm very fortunate. I have partners that we bounce things off of to be like, hey, Josh, look, you're really falling in love with this deal. Like, we got to bring the emotions out of it and really, stick to the logic and our core of what we know, where we're buying on a slightly less than, the average case scenario. Because rule number one of money, in our opinion, is don't lose money.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Get After It. We got my man Josh Roosen in the house today. Josh is killing it in the real estate game and owns 682 rental units. That's right, 682. Grab your coffee, grab your pen and paper, because he's about to drop some serious multifamily investing game. Welcome to the show, man. How you doing?
Appreciate you, brother. Doing good, man. Excited to have my coffee, and I'm here to drop some bombs.
Yeah,
Let's
we
make
got
it
our
happen.
we got our cheers to the caffeine Tuesday morning. Yeah. So, Josh, I have a lot of questions here and that I'm excited to dive into first, but what brought you to St. Augustine?
Man, that's a great question. So before I even moved to this city, I'd never even heard of it. And so I actually was in real estate investing in the single family home side, wanted to get in the apartment investing side. And I was reaching out to all these mentors and people that were well above me. And there was a guy, Gino, who actually lived here, and his partner, Jake, was in Knoxville, Tennessee. So I took a job working for those guys without even hopping on a Zoom call with them, just a couple phone calls, quit my job, moved to St. Augustine to work for those guys and get in the apartment investing space.
Nice. Where were you before St. Augustine?
So I was in San Diego, SoCal, out there working for a company called Fortune Builders. So they were a single family home real estate education group. I was on the sales floor, hitting the phones, making money there. And really, when I first started that journey, I had to really seek to serve to get guidance. So I took a job for those guys to be able to get access to the education and the network, because I wasn't in a spot to pay to play to, get around those folks.
Nice. Yeah, I was just in California for 2 weeks and San Diego's nice. SoCal, yeah, the weather's perfect there right now. It's like 105 and humid here and like 77 and perfect weather there.
Oh man, that worked out so well. So I moved to San Diego in 2016. And when I did it, I was flat broke just after graduating college. And so I didn't have a car. So I would walk to work every day. I was in Pacific Beach, if you know that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And obviously San Diego, it doesn't rain much. So without having a car, having to walk, it worked out very well. We're here, as you know, you get monsooned on, man. It wouldn't be the same.
I had to pull off the road the other day because like I literally couldn't see 15 feet in front of me. So
Yeah,
so
it's dangerous. It's
dangerous,
type
yeah.
to do that. You're like white knuckling, holy moly.
Yeah. You got a really cool background. I listened to a podcast on you yesterday, and there's got to be a lot of different things that move the needle for you. But what's the number one thing that took you from $0 in real estate to over 80 million in less than 10 years?
Yeah. So I think it was just finding people who are where I want to be in life, and then adding value to them, whether it's seeking to serve or paying to play. And then success leaves clues. So, okay, in business, it's smart, but in school, it's obviously cheating. Just rip off and duplicate, right? Learn what they're doing that works and learn the mistakes they made or things they would have done differently and implement like hell.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, like I'm in the valet parking industry, and my dad was in the valet business for like 40 years. I basically duplicated and did his thing, and my brother and I, we opened up our own company. We butted heads too much, so we couldn't work together. I don't know if you ever worked with your parents, but yeah, that's good advice. So getting in the right rooms, right?
Yeah.
And learning to be uncomfortable, and that's how you level up.
Well, I think it's more than getting in the right rooms, right? I think that kind of gets your ticket to entry, but then you got to build the relationships with those people, right? So if we take a room where there's, let's say that top 10% of investors, the bottom 90 always want to connect with that person, but how are you going to stand out and be different, right? How are you adding value, seeking to serve, and truly providing something that those others can't? And that's when you really stand out and get the time and attention of those high-level people.
That's awesome. So when you were in San Diego, how did you set yourself apart from like all the other salespeople? Like what made you like, obviously you were super successful there. So what were you doing that they weren't?
Yeah. So I focused on things I could control, right? So that was my attitude, my work ethic, and then really just showing up every day and giving the most, right? So I took pride in being one of the first ones in the office, one of the last ones out, and then investing my time on my nights and weekends in personal development, right? So I could continue to grow and then give more when I was there. And I just went all in. I saw a path that could take me where I wanted to be. And I implemented like crazy.
Nice. So investing in yourself, like coaches and like mentorship and stuff like that.
Yeah, so this is a good story. So I moved there and I had very little financial resources, right? I had one single family rental and I was really just San Diego was such an expensive spot compared to Michigan where I grew up. Yeah. And then Than, the owner of that company, actually had a leadership coach through John Maxwell, and it was this guy, Chris Robinson. And so I was like, you know what, if that guy's good enough for him and then has a 9-figure net worth, he's good enough for me. And so I reached out to that guy and he wanted like $300 an hour for, guidance. And I was like, whoa, like that's just a ridiculous amount of money. And so especially for me not having any at the time. So what I did was I did a half hour every week with that guy. So $150 a week I could afford. Mm-hmm. And that really helped me level up. And also it showed them that I was serious about this venture I was on too.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, my brother and I, we joined our first community like about 6 months ago. The Rich Sommers's, his content creation and the hotel investing one, and that's like, it's all like virtual. I've met a few of them in person, but it's just it's really motivating to be around those types of people. Like the mindsets, they just think way bigger than the average Joe, and they have really great advice, and they've made all the mistakes that you can learn from. So it's like it fast forwards you.
Yeah, I agree. And then something with those rooms too, there's a barrier to entry, right? So it separates the serious from the curious. If they're willing to put their money where their mouth is, because everybody says they want to be rich and they want to do this, but when it comes down to it, are you willing to put your money where your mouth is, right? Mm-hmm. And you guys made that investment, ponied up, and got access to a community where others also made that investment, are pretty serious about their growth. So it tends to be a good room.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said you started in residential. What do you like better, commercial or residential?
Oh my gosh, multifamily all day. Listen, what you learn is as you talk to a lot of investors, all of them wish they would have scaled up sooner. Just the ability to make more wealth so much quicker. And it's valued like a business rather than comps in the single family space. Now, obviously it's easier to get started in the single family space. However, as most people do, they scale up in their journey. So I'm super grateful I did. And really it's, where I'm going to continue to spend my time and energy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. My brother and I, we bought our first single family homes, and then we got a couple triplexes, and this is technically like a commercial office building and parking lots and stuff. But yeah, if you're selling a home, like it's only going to sell for what the ones around it sold for. But if you're selling a hotel or an apartment building, it's based on the NOI and the value that you can add to it and stuff like that. So
watch this. I can really illustrate that for you. So I'll give you my first single family home example and my first apartment I did, and it'll really paint the gap of why apartments are better. So for a single family home I bought in 2015, I barely had any money. I did an FHA loan, bought a house for $102,743. Moved into it for a month or two, so I wasn't breaking the rule with the FHA. And then I moved a buddy from high school in it for $1,200 a month. Mm-hmm. My taxes, mortgage, and insurance were $707 a month. The house was recently renovated, so not a lot of CapEx needed to be done to it. So I was cash flowing a little under $500 a month, right? And so he lived in that for a couple of years, and then I sold that house for $144,000. So I did well. I netted a $40K check, and my aunt was the realtor. She waived her fees to allow me to even get more money. And I got some cash flow, right? $6,000 a year in cash flow is not bad at all. Mm-hmm. Now, okay, so I took $3,500 or $5,000, whatever, to get into it and turned it to a good amount of money. Now, my first apartment deal I bought in October of 2018. It was 132 units. We syndicated it. I partnered with my mentor. And the good thing about apartments is you can have partners on there, right? You're splitting up a watermelon, not a grape. So I had a couple partners on this deal, and we all made a great amount of money. I had very limited capital starting that deal. So I put $50K of my own money in as an LP. I got $25,000 from a credit card, from a line of credit there. And then I had 16% of the general partnership. So I got 10% for finding it and 6% for raising some money. I got friends, family to invest alongside me. And so that deal was built between 79 and 82. It was in Louisville, Kentucky. Rents when we bought it were $550. Market rent was $700. Then we sold that deal and we bought it for $5.9 million. We raised the capital from investors. Again, we syndicated it, sold it for $10 million 3 years later. Okay. My $75,000 turned into $400,000 when we sold throughout that process. And that's what really got me in the game. That was my first real big check. And I had credibility and proof of experience.
Yeah, that's really cool. So you had 50K of your own money, and then you found it. So you had some ownership, like equity. You were an LP, you said?
LP and GP.
And GP. Okay. Okay, cool. Nice. And what'd you do with that? You parlayed it into the next deal?
Yeah, I kept parlaying into bigger and bigger deals. And now our main strategy is, rather than syndicate, we just buy these 5 to 50 units as sort of our bread and butter, and we buy them with in-house equity. So this way, instead of selling, which creates a taxable event, and we got to go find another deal, we'll force the appreciation and then refi. So the refi comes out tax-free, and then we're holding and stacking these assets long-term to stack cash flow.
Nice. Yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, and I've just heard of it through podcasts, but didn't they just pass something with the taxes, like and bonus depreciation coming back and stuff like that?
Yeah, so 100% bonus depreciation is really awesome. It's allowed me to have a negative adjusted gross income every year and not pay taxes for the last 7 years. And really what that does is, anything on a 20-year or less schedule at depreciation, you can take year one. And so depreciation isn't use it or lose it. You can continue to roll those losses forward and offset your income.
Super cool. Hope you guys are. You might need to rewind, because that's a lot of knowledge in there. So hope you guys are taking notes. I always see you at the gym. How important is your fitness and diet in the success of your real estate business?
Oh man, super important. And I've learned this lesson so many times the hard way, and it always bites me in the butt, right? There's times where I grind it out and put in 60, 70 hours a week, and I'm just cutting corners on the gym, hitting caffeine too hard, and doing Uber Eats for dinner. And then next thing you know, you see yourself feeling a little fluffier, your anxiety's going up, your energy's going down. And then it's a heck of a hole to dig out of, right, to get yourself back in shape. And what I found is, when I'm getting the good sleep, eating healthy, crushing my workouts, and getting in some cardio, that grind is so much more sustainable. I have so much better energy. And truthfully, I'm showing up as like the best version of myself for everyone around me, right?
What time of day do you knock it out, the gym?
First thing in the morning, man. What I find is, if you push it to later, things come up, and you can get up, and I don't go super early, right? I'm probably there, I don't know, 7:30. But if you can make that happen first thing in the morning, it's not an if, it's a when you're hitting it. And you get that time to really dominate the day and start it with a win before diving into everything else.
Yeah, 100% agree. The earlier, the better, for sure. What would you say to those that are pursuing a degree right now that have the itch to start something and take a risk?
So like a college degree, correct?
Yeah, college degree.
Oh man. So I have a controversial view on college, but I wish I wouldn't have went, right? And I went to Central Michigan University, which is a party school to say the least. And I picked up a minor in partying. So it took me 6 years to get out of that school. So, and the worst part is, I graduated with 6 figures in debt. So I had middle-class parents that didn't have the money to pay for college. But at the same time, they weren't poor enough to qualify for any help. And so I just got smacked with student loans. And at that age, I was so ignorant that I just thought it was free money. So I was maxing them out, right, and living that good life. And then we realized, holy moly, you actually got to pay for this. So I would say that degree, I have a biology degree. It doesn't really help me much. I would say take the leap, right? They don't teach this stuff in school and how to build a business. And also my other issue is, a lot of those people that are teaching in academia aren't actually out there doing it in the real world, right? And so they're teaching theory. And that professor might make like $65,000 a year, right? I want to learn from someone who has the results I want and is doing it in today's market. So I would say, look, we're in the age of information. Get on the internet, start learning all you can, build your skill set up, find someone who's doing what you want to do at a high level that you know, like, and trust, and either pay to play or seek to serve to get access to their time.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because if you're going to pay, 80, 100 grand, 50 to 100 grand a year to go to school, like if you got that entrepreneurial bug, invest that into like the big, the best person in the field that you want to pursue, and put all your chips in their corner, and they'll invest in you. And I think for those that are wondering, that might be a smart play.
Yeah. See, I agree with you a lot. And that actually brings up a really good point. A lot of people scoff at investing 5, 10, 15, 30,000 in a mastermind, not realizing they're going to go to school for 4 or 5 years, take out 60, 70, 80,000 in debt. And then they'll hope to get a job, maybe making 50, 70K a year, right? Where a lot of these businesses, like, you can make money year one. As you're learning, you're out there earning and making it happen. And it's such a better path. I guess it's just society has just been so conditioned and trained that go to school and get a job. And that used to work, right? When you had pensions and the job market was different. But nowadays, I think it's a harder path to get ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in the Marine Corps, just like my free time, listening to podcasts, reading books on YouTube, like learning about credit card hacks and like how to get points and stuff. Like you can learn anything you want with ChatGPT, books, podcasts, and YouTube. Like way better than any degree that you can. Obviously, you want to be a doctor or lawyer, stuff like that. You gotta check some boxes. But
Yeah. Actually, here's a good question for you. What do you think your top 3 books were that were influential in your journey?
move that whiteboard there. I got them. Buy Back Your Time. Dan Martell's one of them. 10x is greater than 2x. And then let's see, the third one, probably How to Win Friends and Influence People. Yeah.
That's an annual read. That one is so good.
Yeah. I would say those three really, I mean, the Buy Back Your Time book's huge. Have you ever heard of it from Dan Martell?
Yeah, but I haven't read it. I need to.
It's really great. Like, it just kind of, in summary, it basically just teaches you, like, if, say you're making X amount, like, you don't need to be mowing your grass or folding your clothes or cleaning your house or even maybe sometimes getting your groceries. Like, if your time is better spent, like, doing something else, like raising capital to buy an apartment building, spend your hours doing that as opposed to doing little errands and stuff that somebody else would be happy to do and get paid to do.
Yeah, that lesson was really hard for me. And actually, I learned that from one of the owners of Fortune Builder. When I was working there, I was talking to a coworker and they were telling me to hire a maid. And I was like, my middle-class mindset that was instilled from me in me from my mom and dad was like, why the hell would I pay for that? I got demands that work just fine. And so Paul, one of the owners of Fortune Builder, was walking by and he's like, grab a piece of paper. And I'm like, oh my God, what is this guy doing? He's like, write down MWA. And I'm like, okay. He's like, now circle it and draw a line through it. He's like, anytime you find yourself doing minimum wage activities, you're going to stop that and hire it out. And he's like, if you want to make $1 million a year, you got to focus on $500 an hour activities. And he went on to illustrate this principle really well. He said, hey, look, like what do you make here an hour, right? And let's say I was making $300K a year there, so $150 an hour. And he's like, okay, cool. What is your maid charge? And at the time, I think she was like $15 an hour or something crazy. And so, or something, not that much. So he was like, okay, cool. You work 1 hour here. You can pay for 10 hours with her. Now you're net positive 9 hours. And I was like, okay. But I was like, but I still have the time to clean. Why would I not save that money? And he's like, yo, you could work the extra hours here and be ahead money. And really, he started to illustrate how time's our most valuable asset and money's an infinite asset, right? You can get as much money as you want, but time, our lives are all ending 1 second at a time. And so you have to really realize that's a precious asset. And are you spending it or are you investing it, right? And what's the highest and best use? So I totally agree with everything you're saying. And that middle-class mindset for me was a really hard one to overcome.
Yeah, I love that. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'll add that to the list. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, so you own 682 units.
Yeah.
How do you manage those? Like team, systems, tech, culture? Can you kind of dive into that?
Yeah. So we have, in the assets we have, I have a lot in East Tennessee, and I actually have a business partner there that owns a property management company. And so those ones are really, like, he does a really great job at managing those things. So that one's pretty easy. And obviously we stay up on everything and get to see it, but he really takes that by the helm. So, and then I have a couple properties. Actually, we just closed on 47 units in Denver, and I have an operating partner there. We raise capital. Yes. And, and then I have a new construction project that's actually been probably a pain in my butt. It's in Jonesboro, Arkansas. We're building 7 duplexes. They're 14 townhomes, so 3-bed, 2-bath, big. But this is my first time building new construction, and it's a little bit different than traditional multifamily, meaning I had to get a 24-month loan. That's a construction loan, right? Mm-hmm. And if I don't have them, and our takeout is going to be a Freddie small balance loan. So with Freddie Mac, we need 90 days that those things have 90% or higher occupancy to be able to refi to that loan.
So you got to fill it in 3 months from the time that it gets built, basically?
Yeah, and so I didn't realize how many hurdles with new construction are. So that one's been probably the biggest pain in my butt and time suck. But truthfully, it's systems, it's having a team. Like we talked about with multifamily, you're splitting up a watermelon, well, single family is a grape, right? Mm-hmm. And so I have like roles I'm really good at is capital raising, deal finding. So my strengths are in asset management. And so I have partners that are really good at that, and we delegate those things, right? So do your strengths, delegate what you're not good at, and you can find people that are better than you at your weaknesses. So that's been my strategy to dominate in the industry, right?
Yeah, that's cool. So out of all those units, is it mostly split up? Do you have like, are they split up between a handful of states, or are they like all over the country?
So 14 of the complexes are in Knoxville. I lived there for a couple of years as well, and that's why I really picked up quite a few assets. And I
Mm-hmm.
actually partnered with my mentor at the time on most of those deals.
Nice.
And then the other few, we got two in Colorado. So it's again 47 units, but split between two buildings. And then we raised capital with another operating partner of a couple deals in the Midwest. So that's the
Cool.
majority of what we have.
Nice. And we were talking about interest rates earlier. How are you getting deals done right now with interest rates where they're at?
Yeah, so the answer is it's tough though, right? And the truth is, no matter what, so when interest rates loosen, it's still hard, right? You just got to pick your hard. So what we know is, and what like our thesis we're betting on is right now, while interest rates are high, obviously when rates go up, values go down, right? Because
Mhm.
real estate's a leverage asset. So if you can buy now with cash flow day one, you're going to win long term, right?
Mhm.
So how are we getting deals done? We're aggressively, on keeping up with our broker relationship. So brokers, all they do is prospect all day, right? They reach out to sellers and say, hey, I want to give you a BOV. And so if you have those broker relationships, you can get those pre-market deals that not many people are seeing, right? And by the time those other people are seeing it, those deals are then picked over, right? Somebody's already turned those down. The other thing we're doing is we're pulling lists from CoStar. So we have a really, really scrub list of deals that we want to buy, and we're marketing to them aggressively. We're texting them, we're emailing them, we're sending out mailers. And the goal is we're not going to just buy the deal, right? Like that, they don't send a mailer and all of a sudden someone's like, hey, oh my gosh, Josh, I was waiting for that. I'm ready to sell. But what it ends up being a lot of times is building that relationship.
Yeah.
And that way, when they are ready to sell, you're top of mind, right? And this way you can sell to them, hey, look, I'll save you the broker's fee. I'll buy it as is. You don't have to do this whole dog and pony show with the broker and have someone maybe close on it. And you can even get creative deals like owner financing and really, really get some of the best deals that way. So those are the strategies we're using and how we're generating deal flow. But even with that and our experience, and we have capital ready to deploy, it's
Yeah.
still not easy.
Yeah. That's cool. Have you ever done any cool deals where like owner financing?
No, we've sold one. We had one in Lexington, Kentucky, and we bought it in 22. So rates were really low, and that one had an agency loan on it, so a 10-year term.
Yeah.
And they assumed our debt because our debt was so much cheaper than what they could get now. But I've yet to do a creative financing deal. We made some offers though, but it's a lot of the sellers they want the money or they had a reason to trade up, right? So it didn't work for them.
Yeah. When the folks that are selling these 50 units, are they like mom and pop, or are they mostly like institutional, like institutions, or a mixture?
Yeah, so it's primarily mom and pop, and that's
Okay.
truthfully why we like this space of 5 to 50 is we believe it is that basically there's more mom and pop owners in there. You're not competing against institutional buyers, right? Once you start getting 80 and above, that's when the institutions start swooping in, and those institutions have billions of dollars. They're chasing wealth preservation, not wealth creation. So they can afford to pay a lot more than you and I, and they have to deploy those funds, right? And so they're buying mediocre deals that we would pass on. Now, what we do is we pick an area we're very bullish on. We play Monopoly by stacking those assets. And that's why we really like those mom and pop deals. And then truthfully, a lot of times too, they're so hands-on with their tenants that they don't raise rents, right? And they're kind of nickel and diming some of the repairs, right? So you're buying something where rents are at least 20% or more below market. That's one part of our buy box. But there's also some deferred maintenance, and those tenants aren't getting the best service, right? So as we go through, we don't just raise the rents. We provide a really clean, safe, modern, affordable spot for them to live and somewhere they can take pride in to call home.
That's cool. Are you is it most like, what do you buy, like A, B, C class, or it just depends like if the deal's good? Like,
Yeah, primarily B and C class apartments. So a lot of 70s, 80s product
okay.
in B class or better neighborhoods. We'll go C plus class, but what we've learned is, and we've learned this through mentors is we can't gentrify the hood, right? We're
Mhm.
not a Dan Gilbert who owns Quicken and Cleveland Cavaliers that was able to really take Detroit and put it on a come up. We don't have billions of dollars. And so we try to buy the worst asset in the best neighborhood and then bring that asset up to the neighborhood.
Nice. That's cool. Um, we talked about coaches and mentorship programs. Would you say that mentorship is fast forwarded like your success? Like, do you give a lot of contribution to that?
Oh, 100%. I would not be where I'm at without that and working hard, right? And I can actually give a couple analogies that will really illustrate that, right? One that really comes to mind, I think paints the picture is, it's like, have you ever seen The Matrix?
Yeah, years ago, but I kind of have a general idea. Yeah.
Okay, so you'll be vaguely familiar with this scene enough to really paint the picture. But do you remember when Neo is going to fight Morpheus and they plug the back of him and teach him, they upload like karate, that file, and then he starts doing these moves in the Matrix that he's never done before? Yes.
Yep.
That's what mentorship's like, dude. It's taking a decade or decades of experience that someone else has, compressing it into the lessons learned, and then you can upload that. And instead of having to go through those lessons in the School of Hard Knocks, you can get it in the School of Applied Knowledge and go through and sort of skip those hurdles and implement what works right away.
Yeah.
And then another thought too is there's some people that are really kind of hard-headed and they're like, I'm just gonna go figure it out. And you're like, dude, what in the world? Like, it's gonna cost you more time and more money.
Yeah.
And my thought on that is, it's like, look, dude, would you let me do heart surgery on you? You know what I mean? And the answer is hell no, you would die 100%, right? What would you want me to do is go to medical school, residency, fellowship, and then do heart surgery on you, right? So why would someone take their financial future, which I think is really important, and gamble on figuring it out, right? So mentorship to me is one of the only investments you can make that not only increases your upside, but it reduces your risk. And normally those two variables don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, that's really great advice for those listening. My brother and I, we just did our first coaching call we're in the parking industry and valet industry. And we had our first client yesterday, young guy in Miami. He just turned 20 years old and he works for a valet company and he's interested in leveling up his knowledge and he wants to own a company one day. So he heard my brother on a podcast and he reached out and he's like, hey, like, I want you to coach me. So, we agreed to a price and sure enough, like we're mentoring him. So I think it's really cool because we've been sued, we've wrecked cars, we've lost money. Like we've done it all in our business. So hundreds of thousands of dollars of fuck ups. We've had a lot of success too, but a lot of learning lessons along the way. So if someone can learn from that, pay a little money and like get all of, just open our heads and pick out whatever they want. Like that's super cool advice. So
yeah, a huge fan of that, right? And ultimately, it's right. You don't work at Coca-Cola. You're not selling sugar water. You're selling a product that can change the outcome of someone's life. And really, for me, I saw it with my family, right? They had this mindset of like the second rat gets the cheese, right? Like you go prove out real estate and this works. And then once I had the success, now look at it. My brother owns real estate and he's a giant commercial broker. My dad owns 20 unit, 26 townhomes and 52 storage units. Went from a spot, he's in his late 60s to not set for retirement and now to have enough cash flow where, I might get an inheritance. And not that I view my dad as that, but I saw the outcome or the impact it was able to have on their life. And it's like, wow, if we can really amplify that and magnify that, like there's a real need for any financial education out there. And so I applaud you doing this, and it's really, you'll see the impact you're able to have on this young kid. And it's pretty cool seeing that transformation.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited to, because I feel like I was there too. Like when I was 18, 19, like I always had like big dreams and I still do. And it's nice to be able to learn from somebody that's doing it. Do you look for, in your deals, do you look for cash flow or appreciation, and why? Or a mixture of both?
Yeah. So a mixture of both is the answer, and you have to, right? So you buy for cash flow, but you hold for appreciation, if that makes sense, right? So basically cash flow reduces risk because things happen when you own these assets. And if you have a margin there, obviously that helps as well, right? And we buy for cash flow, right? You want that as well. But appreciation is truly what creates your wealth, right? And a good example of this is if you buy a deal, we'll use easy numbers here, but at a 5 cap, which is, some A-class assets might be trading at, every dollar in NOI you add adds $20 in value to an asset. And so when you're able to increase rents, a couple $100 and maybe add some different fees that weren't there, whether it's billing back the utilities or pet rent or something that owner wasn't collecting, you can take an asset that was worth 3 or 4 million and make it worth 5 or 6. And then all of a sudden we monetize that equity, right? Through a refi or a sale. And then you can really play a monopoly with it. But the cash flow will pay your bills. The equity will make you rich. We do a combination of both. Some deals are a little more equity heavy and some deals are a little more cash flow heavy, but you just got to know what you're getting into and what your exit strategy is.
Yeah, that's great advice. What's a major learning lesson you've had to go through when underwriting deals? Any mistakes that you've had?
Yeah. So look, we ultimately, to get a deal, I probably look at 100 deals. And so you're really sifting through gold to get these deals. And eventually you just get this hunger of like, man, I just want a deal to work, right? So you start tweaking the numbers here and there of like, all right, well, maybe rent growth will go, 4% instead of 3. Maybe I can get expenses a little bit cheaper here. And you can pencil whip a deal in order to have it make sense. But then, I'm very fortunate. I have partners that we bounce things off of to be like, hey, Josh, look, you're really falling in love with this deal. Like, we got to bring the emotions out of it, and really, stick to the logic and our core of what we know, where we're buying on a slightly less than, the average case scenario. Because rule number one of money, in our opinion, is don't lose money. So we've just had a lot of, thank goodness I've never acted or bought on any of those deals, and thinking of my partners. But a lot of times where you just want a deal to work so bad that we call it pencil whipping the numbers, right? Where you're increasing the income, reducing the expenses, and then you're like, oh my gosh, maybe we can get it to work. And then you got to snap back to reality.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. It's all about discipline, you got to be disciplined and not emotional. Like, there's always going to be another deal. So know when to walk away.
Yeah, and we're seeing that now, right? A lot of people bought. If you look at the run from, let's call it 2013 till 2022, when interest rates started going up, right? They bought with bridge debt, and a lot of those loans are coming due where now interest rates are much higher, and values are much lower. And so they're in a spot where their new refinance can't pay off the existing debt, right? So they're in a challenge. So it's like, look, we've been very fortunate through mentors. We learned not to use bridge debt. So we've avoided a lot of those learning lessons, and just seeing, I have friends that have done, tons of deals, and they have one or two hairy ones that are just doing so much brain damage and financial damage to them that it's like, okay, cool. I see that. I'm 36 now. I don't want to wipe out.
Yeah.
So it's like, we stick to no deal is better than a bad deal is what we really, really stick to. Right.
That's good advice. Yeah. Just staying alive, stay in the game. Don't run out of capital, and, just fight another day. What are some daily non-negotiables for you?
Oh man, love that, dude. So, all right, I try for 8 hours of sleep. I think it's so important, right, to have that and get resilient. And how I do that is I'm pretty strict on like sleep and wake time, right? And then I got to 8 sleep. So shout out to that. And that thing helps me, it lulls me to sleep as well.
What is it?
8 sleep. So it's this mattress cover pod that heats and cools.
Okay.
And supposedly it's smart, has some AI, so it can realize like what like stage of sleep you're in and help you. Their claim to fame is an hour more of sleep a night, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah.
Yeah, let's track your deep sleep, your REM sleep, all that. So I like that. The gym is another big one, man. I try to shoot for 10K steps. I try to eat pretty clean. And of course, right, I'm human. I have my days where I don't, right? We all do. And that's probably my other vice is, food every once in a while. But if I can get, some 8 hours of sleep, hit the gym, get some steps in, and then a little bit of sun every once in a while, those are my like habits that really help me stay consistent.
Yeah.
What about you, man? I'm curious. What are your non-negotiables?
For me, gym's big. Sleep. I mean, I have 3 kids right now. I'm very lucky. My wife lets me sleep through the night, which very lucky for. We have almost a 5-year-old, almost a 3-year-old, and then a 7-month-old. So we're in the thick of it. But gym, I eat a lot of red meat. I get all my steaks from Butcher and Bean down the street. Right now I'm not drinking. I'm doing like a 90-day period of no drinking. So that's game changing. Like being able to wake up early, like, sharp and with it. I love listening to podcasts. I love reading. I usually read right before bed. I try to put my phone down, 30 minutes, an hour before bed. Those are pretty much the family time, spend time with family.
So, all right, here's a good one for you. Obviously, as an entrepreneur, right, sometimes you're in like firefighter mode. You're putting out stuff that's going wrong in the business. And we said earlier, you have a lot of business on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of my team members on the West Coast as well. So in the evening, I find myself in this trap where I'm on my phone, just plugged into the business and not letting go. How do you let go of that or not have a little bit of anxiety, just kind of detaching and unplugging?
I do have a little bit of anxiety. But it's all about like your team and building the systems. So like we've been in business for almost 5 years, and like Saturdays are our busiest days. And a lot of the events start at like, 6, 7, 8 Pacific time, which is late here. And I'm in bed by then. So like, I just have to trust that they'll do the event, well. And if they don't, then I'll wake up and deal with it the next morning. Like there's nothing I can do at 1 a.m. here. Like, so that's kind of, but we have systems and training and the teams, they know what to do when things go wrong. So that's how we deal with it.
Now, do you have layers of middle management or not yet?
Not really. No, my brother, he does a lot of like the operations. I do more of like the visionary stuff and like sales. And then we have our valet supervisors and like the shuttle driver supervisors. So we would like somebody to replace my brother's role. That way my brother can be like the overseer, and then there can be like a boots on the ground person on the West Coast to check on those things. But for now it's working. But as we're going through the growing pains, so we're seeing that some middle management will probably be needed.
Yeah, see, that's where we're at. And I don't, have you read the E-Myth, by the way?
Long time ago, yeah.
Yeah, so we're out of the technician stage, right? We're in the manager stage, and really we got to continue to grow and scale to be able to replace that. So there's more layers between us and the business. That way we have something where you can work on, not getting stuck in. Yeah, and that's we're in the hybrid of that right now and going through it. But at the same time, I truly believe going through those pains is a good thing, because if you have done the roles, then you know them intimately, right? And you can really better manage those people.
For sure.
And then you can, my goal is to promote from within the company. Someone that's put in the hard work and grown with us and been there since day one, to be that middle manager role. We're just not there yet. And we're going through it like you, at least on the education side.
Yeah. And I really like the idea of promoting from within. Like if I could, like some of our best people have been with us since like literally like month 3 in business. So they've been with us for almost 4 or 5 years. And I would, I'd really like to employ from like hire them to be the managers and stuff. So we'll see. We'll see how, what I don't want to do is do that and then it doesn't work out and then it's like awkward, but that's the risk you got to take. Or it's either that or you hire like an expensive, executive from another company to come in and do it that has no experience already. So
yeah, I like the idea of promoting within, because they know the company culture. You know they're a fit from that, right? It's not some random person like usurping them, be like, oh, this guy came out of nowhere and is now my boss. It's someone they already have a rapport with and they know the team very well. And that idea really excites me, of knowing like, hey, they're here. We've painted the vision as leaders of the company of where we want to take it, and now we're handing the reins to them to continue to go down that path.
And it's like their family, they've been with us for a long time. They're loyal. So it's like you get to see them level up and progress. And it's awesome to see that. So
how do you create culture within the company?
We do one big company party every year, like around the holidays. Like we didn't do it last year because of the fires, but every year prior to that, we, 60, 70, 80 people, we go to this bowling alley in the valley called Bolero. And everyone's just bowling, drinking, eating. And we have like, dozens of prizes that we go to Costco and spend like $5,000 in prizes, and we like raffle them all off: TVs, iPads, watches, stuff like that. That's what we do for like we do a few of those every year for parties. The supervisors, we like to get them together, maybe do like a couple of supervisor dinners, like, every quarter, stuff like that. In Florida, like we'll take the office out to lunch every now and then. So things like that. It's hard because we have a lot of part-time employees, like, 80 to 90 people between California and Florida. So it's like, it's hard to get like really personal with each person, but I try to learn about people, their families and where they're from, what they do, what their goals are. So
yeah, we're a big fan of learning. We call it FORD: family, occupation, recreation, and dreams. And that way, people stick with people they know they can trust, right? And so if we can build that connection, then they're going to handle our customers with care, right? Yeah. That's what we really want. So
yeah. And I think we take really good care of our employees, like in terms of communication and competitive wages and stuff. And we see that like with the customers, because we get really great reviews on Google and Yelp and stuff like that. And typically our employees, they stay with us for a while, and if they leave, it's because they got a better opportunity or they leveled up somewhere, and we're happy with that.
You want that.
Yeah.
See, we have like 5 employees that are either in Mexico or in the DR, right? And so for us to fly them all out would be tough, but we do like virtual poker night monthly with prizes there. We'll also do swag on the journey, right? So if they're on the sales team, they get a bunch of swag when they get their first sale. And then after a year, we got like these branded nomadic backpacks that are really sick. After 2 years, we got, some branded, like a quarter zip and a branded polo for them. So we really try to celebrate those milestones.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you, that's for like your, what's the name of your community? The
Multifamily Wealth Nation.
Multifamily Wealth Nation. Okay. So you guys are you based all over the country or?
Yeah, all over. So my business partner's here with us in Jacksonville, over
Okay.
Northeast Florida, right? But our team members, they're all virtual.
Cool. Nice. What's the most common trait that you see from leaders in your industry?
Oh man, I think it's always leveling up. So it's never getting comfortable with where you're at, right? But realizing there's always a next level to it and figuring out how can I go to that next level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. What how are you leveraging social media in your business today?
Oh gosh, we're spending about $10,000 a week on ads right now. So there's quite a bit of ad spend on social media. Like you, I have a social media manager, right? So we've outsourced that. And we really use it as a piece to one, grow awareness, right? And then people to consume our content. So it builds that know, like, and trust. And then they either, invest with us, refer someone to us, or they become a client on the education side. And that's really our goal, is to build that brand awareness and that trust with those people consuming our content. So to be a thought leader, right, in the industry.
Nice. Are those that 10K a month? You said a week or month? A week.
So
Yeah.
our ad budget's not cheap right now.
Are you doing Google ads or Facebook and like everything?
Facebook and Instagram. So right now what we do is we have have the ads, we run it to a school community. So Sam Ovens and Alex Hermosi's community. And then once they're in there, there's a ton of free content information they can consume. And then we have our team reach out to them and get to know them a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
We really take a consultative approach and figure out if they possibly would be a good fit for one of our higher level programs, or potentially an investor with us in some of our deals. And then figure out how we can best serve those people.
That's great. So before we wrap up, what's the number one, you've probably read a lot of books. What's the number one book in your opinion?
All right, I'm going to go controversial here and give one that nobody's probably heard of before, but it's a Jim Rohn book. I don't know if you like him, but he's one of my favorite self-development individuals. It's called 12 Pillars. So it's an annual read for me. Super basic book, and it's a parable, right? So in story form. But really, I like that book as a guide of how I want to live my life, about being balanced, and it just is such a well-written, easy to consume, but hard-hitting book.
Nice. How can if folks want to learn more about you, how can they reach out?
Yeah, what I'd love to do is connect on Instagram. So my Instagram is the Josh Roosen. My last name is Roosen. Add me there. I'll add you back. Send me a DM and let's chat. Would love to help in any way we can.
Nice. Hope you guys learned a lot today. Josh Roosen, he's a multi-family expert, and he'll teach you guys a lot about buying apartment buildings and syndicating deals. So reach out to him. Hope you guys enjoyed today, and we'll see you on the next one. Get after it.